Daf Yomi, Tractate, Bava Batra, page 134a. Top of the page with the words Im Lav, Yetayach Hotzi Ma Shechazarti. Amar Heiti Chalai Ben Uziel. Heiti Chalai Ben Uziel. We're in the middle of the story, so maybe it's good to start from 133b, where we left off. Okay, the Tanur Rabbanan, the sages taught. Ma'aseh Adam Echad Shelo Haya Banim Nahagin Keshura Amad V'Chasav Nechasav L'Yonasan Ben Uziel Ma'aseh Yonasan Ben Uziel Machar Shlish Shlish Yachzir Levana Shlish. The sages taught there was an incident involving one man whose children did not act properly. He arose and wrote a document transferring all his property to Yonatan ben Uziel, one of the sages, as a gift. What did Yonatan ben Uziel do? He sold a third of the property for his needs. He consecrated a third of the property, and he returned the remaining third to the man's children. Ba'alav Shammai b'maklo v'tarmilo Amar lo Shammai imata yachol lotzi es ma shemacharti ma shekadashti ata yachol lotzi ma shechazarti. Shammai came to Yonasan ben Uziel with his staff and his traveling bag to protest his giving part of the property to the man's children against the deceased's wishes. Yonatan ben Uziel said to him, Shammai, if you can repossess the property that I sold from the purchasers and the property that I consecrated from the temple treasury, you can repossess what I returned to the man's children as well. And now we're on the top of 134. Im lav, but if not, meaning if you can't do those things, the property is mine and I have the right to do with it whatever I want. Yatayachol Lahotzi ma shechazarti. Amar Heiti Chalai ben Uziel. Heiti Chalai ben Uziel. You cannot repossess what I returned to the man's children either. Shammai then said, Ben Uziel reprimanded me. Ben Uziel reprimanded me. And I have no response. I guess if Ben Uziel, such a great sage, thought that the sons weren't that bad as the father did, he gave it to them, it's his money. He can give it to them if they want to. It's no longer the father's thing. Maybe Ben Uziel saw more than the father saw. The Gemara asks, what did Shammai hold initially, causing him to protest Yonatan ben Uziel's behavior? The Gemara answers he protested due to the incident that happened in the city of Bet Choron. And what happened there? Tetznan. Ma'aseh beBeit Choron be'echad shehaya aviv mudar emirano Yehoy bas ben aviv lechaver ha'arechat resuda nesunin lecha b'matano ve'ein lefanecha ela kedei sheyavo abba yochal imanu besuda. As we learned in the Mishnah in Darim 48a, an incident occurred involving someone in the city of Beit Choron whose father had vowed not to derive benefit from him, and the son was marrying off his own son and wanted his father to be able to participate in the wedding meal. And he therefore said to another, the courtyard where the wedding will take place and the wedding meal are hereby given to you as a gift, but they are given to you only so that my father will come and eat with us at the meal. The son wanted to circumvent the prohibition imposed by the vow and enable his father to participate in the meal, so he transferred ownership to someone else for that purpose. Amar lo im shelihein harehein v'kudtran l'shemayim. Amar lo nasati lecha et sheli shetakdim l'shemayim. Amar lo nasata li et shelcha ela shetehe ata v'yicha ochel v'shosim v'ratzin zelozeh v'yehei avon talui barosho. The recipient said to him, if they are mine, then they are all hereby consecrated to heaven, meaning the temple, and are forbidden to everyone. The son said to him in anger, I did not give you my property so that you should consecrate them to heaven. The recipient said to him, "You gave me your property only so that you and your father would eat and drink, and thereby appease each other, and the sin of transgressing the vow would be hung on my head, as I enabled the transgression." Amru chachamim kol matan she'eno she'im kedusha v'kedushes eno matana. The Mishnah continues in reference to this incident. The sages said, any gift that is not so absolute that if the recipient were to consecrate it, the gift would be consecrated is not a gift. In other words, in order for it to be a gift, the recipient must have the ability to consecrate it. Similarly, Shammai had initially reasoned that the gift to Yonatan ben Uziel was not a valid gift, as its sole purpose was so that the property should not fall into the possession of the man's children. Once he discovered that Yonatan ben Uziel consecrated part of the gift, he realized that it was in fact a valid gift with which the recipient could do whatever he pleased. I mean, at the end of the day, the father's wish still was fulfilled in some way, because instead of getting all of the inheritance, they only got a small part of it, a relatively small part. So even if Yonatan gave them something, they didn't get the full amount. Maybe Yonatan ben Uziel thought, hey, they're not great kids, but hey, they should get something. At the end of the day, they're bad, but they're not that bad. Give them something. But at the same time, they didn't get a good portion of it either. So it's just my own thoughts about it. Apropos, to Yonatan ben Uziel, the Gemara cites that the sages taught Hill the elder had 80 students. Okay, Tanu Rabbanan, Shmonim Tamidim, Lo Hil Hazaken. Oh, going back there. In other words, in order to be a gift, the recipient must have the ability to consecrate it. Similarly, Shammai had initially reasoned. Okay, we said that right. Okay. Tanu Rabbanan, the sages taught. Shmonim Talmidim Hayu Lahil Hazaken Shloshim Mehen Ruim Shetishra Elem Shechina K'Moshe Rabbeinu Shloshim Mehem Ruim Shetamod Lahen Chama Yehoshua ben Nun Esrim Benunim Gadol Shebekulan Yonatan ben Uziel Katan Shebekulan Yocham Zaken. The sages taught that Hill the elder had 80 students. 30 of them were sufficiently worthy that the divine presence should rest upon them, as it did upon Moses, our teacher. 30 of them were sufficiently worthy that the sun should stand still for them, as it did for Joshua ben Nun. And 20 were on an intermediate level between the two. The greatest of all the students was Yonatan ben Uziel, and the least of them was Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Amro Alav, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, Shelo Iniach Mikra Mishnah Talmud Halachos Ve'Agados T'Torah V'Zuzei Soifrim V'Kalim V'Chamurin V'Gzeros Shavos Kuvos V'Gematrios. Gematrias. Umishlos Kovsim Umishlos Shualim Sichas Shedim, Sichas Dekolim, Sichas Malachei Shores, V'Davar Gadol V'Davakot. The sages said about Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai that he did not neglect Bible and Mishnah, Talmud, Halachot and Haggadot, minutiae of the Torah and minutiae of the scribes, and the hermeneutical principles of the Torah with regard to a fortiori inferences and verbal analogies, and the calculation of the calendric seasons and numerical values of Hebrew letters, gematriot, and parables of launderers, which are folk tales that can be used to explain the Torah, and parables of foxes. In addition, he did not neglect esoteric matters, including the conversation of demons, and the conversation of palm trees, and the conversation of ministering angels, and more generally, a great matter and a small matter. Davar gadol ma'aseh min kava, v'davar katan havayis lebay v'rava. L'kayim ha'shenemar la'anchil, o yavay yesh, v'oy tzoriseim al amaleh. The Gemara elaborates the great matter is referring to the secrets of the design of the divine chariot, see Ezekiel chapter 1, to conduct the conduct of the transcendent universe. And a small matter is, for example, halachot that were ultimately formulated in the framework of the discussions of Abai and Rava. He did not neglect any of these disciplines so as to fulfill that which is stated, that I may cause those who love me to inherit substance, and that I may fill their treasuries. Proverbs 8:21. As Rabbi Yochanan was filled with the disciplines of Torah and wisdom. The Gemara adds, and if the least of them was so prolific, the greatest of them was all the more so prolific. The Gemara relates that the sages said of Yonatan ben Uziel, the greatest of Hillel's students, that when he would sit and engage in Torah study, the sanctity that he generated was so intense that any bird that would fly over him would be incinerated. And it ends there, and we're starting with a new Mishnah. The Mishnah says, "Omer ze b'ni ne'eman, ze achi eino ne'eman, v'yitor imo b'chelko." The Mishnah says, one who says, "This is my son," is deemed credible, but one who says, "This is my brother," is not deemed credible, with regard to his other brother's obligation to share the inheritance with the subject of his statement. When one claims that this man is his brother, this claim is accepted with regard to the speaker's own portion, and the man in question takes a share of their father's inheritance with him, meaning from his portion. If the man in question dies, the property he received from the father's inheritance shall return to its place, meaning to the possession of the brother who testified on his behalf, from whose portion he received a share. If property came into the man in question's possession from somewhere else other than from the father, and the man in question died, all of the brothers of the one who testified shall inherit with the one who testified, as according to his claim they too are heirs of the deceased. The Gemara says, now we're starting the Talmud, the Gemara says, Zebani ne'eman l'mad hilchasa, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, Liorasho, Liftar, as ishto min ha'ibum. The Gemara says, the Mishnah teaches that one who says, "This is my son," is deemed credible. With regard to what halacha is this stated? Rav Yehuda says that Shmuel says, it is stated with regard to inheriting from him, meaning the son inherits from the speaker, and with regard to rendering his wife exempt from levirate marriage. Because he claims that the person in question is his son, his wife is not required to enter into levirate marriage after his death, as he has a child.